this way we can make the recording available to anybody who might not have been able to make it today. So thank you, Ms. Krenti.
No problem. So we will begin with our arrival procedures and, oh, sorry. All right, we're back to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, most recent guidance from the commissioner. And so it basically states that all districts and schools will be required to be in person. We no longer have the option of being remote, or students don't. They will be there full-time, 5 days a week. And all health and safety requirements have been lifted. However, we'll talk more about this later on. Students will be in masks, and so will staff. And although the rest of this paragraph talks about how, we don't need to, consider physical distancing and things like that, please know that we are being very cognizant of that, making sure that when we can, students are separated just as good practice. And, we will continue to sort of sanitize and make sure children and staff are washing their hands appropriately. And other than when students are eating or drinking or having a mask break outside, their masks will be on. So I just wanted to say that at the beginning. As far as our arrival procedures, and for those of you that are new to the McAuliffe, please don't stress about this part so much on the first day. There will be most of our staff outside to help with parents and students. So students that are coming on the bus, and in a typical year, we might have 6 buses in the morning. They line up right in front of our school. They won't be coming off the bus until a McAuliffe staff member goes to the bus, opens the door, and directs the children out. And it's a nice way to start the morning. We're greeting children, saying we're happy to see them, welcome, and it sets a nice tone for the day. Students that are arriving by car will pull up to the outer, it's actually an island, where we usually have 2 staff members there, opening car doors, greeting children. We do ask that parents don't let their children out until you've made it to the very end of that island. We don't want children, sometimes children think they should cross there, and it's just not safe, and we'll remind them. So please don't worry about that. We ask that you stay in your car. We'll physically open your child's door and let him or her out. So safety is obviously our top priority, and there have been no issues. Entering the building, we'll use several doorways. Pre-K will come in the early childhood doors. So if you're looking at our building, it is the wing off to the right. There are doors at the end. Kindergarten will enter through their own classroom doors, their exterior classroom doors. And then 1st through 4th grade will walk in the main door, the front door. And again, we'll have lots of staff outside, but also many in the hallways to make sure that children know exactly where they're going. We have staff members that will even walk children down, because it takes some time for them to remember exactly where they need to go. So there are never children in the hallway sort of without eyes on them, to make sure that they're all set. And so this schedule here is not everyone's schedule, but I would say a typical schedule for a student. The morning begins, every student is entitled to breakfast. And then there's a morning meeting, which is a chance for the teacher to gather all the students together and just sort of do a check-in. How's your morning going? What's our goal for the day? Talking about McAuliffe expectations and things like that. It's sort of it's what we do as adults. When we get to work, we check in with our colleagues and say, how was your weekend, this and that, and it sort of helps you transition into the workday. And then, of course, there are the academic pieces. I just want to point out that a team of staff members met this summer, and it was decided that 2 recesses a day is really great for students. And we learned that, unfortunately or fortunately, from the pandemic. So when we had children back in person and they needed those 2 mask breaks, we found that with those 2 movement breaks, fresh air, being outside, a little bit of recess, that our children actually performed better. So that was one of the positive things that came out of our work looking at the pandemic. So they will have opportunities, although short times, they will be getting outside unless the weather is not cooperating. And so each morning, Mr. Anderson will do a morning announcement and remind students that we are STARS. And that's an acronym for S, we strive to do our best. We take responsibility, always positive and kind, and we respect ourselves and others. And again, we had a great group of teachers and paraprofessionals talking about our green program. So for our new McAuliffe families, the green program is how we sort of encourage students to make good choices. And this STAR program is one of them. And I'm not sure if you can see the image as well, but it shows how students should behave in certain areas of the building. So for instance, the cafeteria, how they should take responsibility for themselves in the cafeteria, or always be positive and kind, respect ourselves and others. And it goes through the hallway, the cafeteria, the classroom. And so, you know, children are humans. They make mistakes just like us adults. And so it's an opportunity for us to take the chart, look at it and say, okay, what do you think didn't go well? What do we sort of need to work on next time? And you'll hear more about this green program. It's sort of like a stoplight, but green is, you know, every student starts on green, which means, you know, having a typical day. That if a teacher needs to sort of direct a student's behavior several times, he or she may say to the student, if you continue to do whatever, you may need to get a chip. And so those chips are little, they're like bingo chips that they will get in a chart that just, it's just a visual reminder of, you know, let's make sure we're not talking too much in class while I'm teaching. And those chips are absolutely acceptable. We don't expect children to be green every day and not get chips. That's just not reasonable. And after a student gets a chip and say the behavior continues, the child continues to talk and be disruptive, they may be moved to yellow, which is, it's a warning, right? It's to say, you know, we had kind of a rough day. Tomorrow's a new day, tomorrow's a green day, but yellow does mean let's reflect on our choices. And we try not to get too upset about the chips or the yellows, because even as adults, some of us have yellow days. And they are still learning, and considering, you know, coming back after a pandemic, many of our children haven't been in school at all. So we are very aware of the time that they need to sort of understand expectations, and there are times where they will make mistakes, and so do we. After the yellow is a red. So if the behavior is really sort of, you know, has been a challenge, then we will talk to the child. We may need to call home. There's a purple sheet that we fill out, and that's the communication that goes home to families and talks about which of these areas with the STAR chart that the child is struggling with. And then it goes through a color system. And we'll share more information about that as the year begins. But it's a good program. We've had great success, and it is a nice way to recognize the students that are staying green all the time and are really working hard on their choices. And so every month we'll have an assembly for students that have remained green for the month. And it's a nice way to do something fun and celebrate our children. September, all children go to the green party. We call them green parties. So it's a nice way for them to see what they could sort of be earning each month.
So as far as the curriculum goes, the Department of Education has released what is called the Accelerated Roadmap. And this is a new tool that they sent out, and it's actually a pretty fantastic tool that they've sent out to help districts in planning for curriculum around the return to school. And a big part of that, and a big part that is important to highlight, is that we are not going to be focusing on remediation. We do not want to focus on the idea of lost learning or lost time, or that there is a deficit in any of our children, because there is not. It's our job to figure out if there are gaps, where those gaps are, and how can we address those gaps through scaffolded, individualized instruction in the classroom. And so instead of looking at our return through a remediation lens, we're going to be looking at it through this acceleration lens, where there will be a focus on basic skills, ensuring that students have those basic skills, but then also meeting them where they are to make sure that they are still participating in grade level appropriate content. So we are lucky, and we'll get to this a little bit later, that we're able to bring in, instead of 5 tutors, we're going to have 9. We're going to have a new teacher dedicated just to reading intervention for our students that need it. So there's a lot of exciting things happening to allow us to be able to approach things through this lens. But one of the things that I really like about this is that the whole model is broken down through these 3 key areas. That first thing we have to do is we have to make sure that our kids feel good about being at school. And those of you who know me, hopefully know that my first goal is to make school so amazing that our kids are running in our doors every day. And so that's the first step after not being in the school. Some of our kids for 18 months now, some of them never stepping foot in a regular school before. We want to make them feel safe, feel like they belong, and we want them to have fun with their learning. And so that's why part of what we ask the teachers to do every year, and the teachers love this, is that they do not touch their curriculum for at least the first 3 days of school. The first 3 days are all about getting to know their kids getting to know them, and having some fun together so that we can build that trust that we need to make learning happen. Then throughout the year, we're going to be monitoring students. We're going to be checking in with them in terms of, maybe it's a quick assessment, a quick 3-question quiz. Did they understand multiplication that we taught today? Before teaching a subject, we're going to go ahead and check, okay, what is their background knowledge on this subject, so that we know which parts we need to hit really hard. We know which kids have it already, and we can challenge them with something else, or which kids might need a little bit more help. So we're going to be doing that throughout the year. And quite honestly, that's nothing new. That's just good teaching. And our teachers do a really good job of getting in to know where are each student's strengths and where are some areas that they still need some help. And so that's where this monitor understanding goes, and then strong instruction. And that's going to look like active learning. Kids are going to be broken up into groups. We're going to be able to, like I said, pull more kids out that might need some extra support, throw some more adults into the classrooms to be able to really target the needs of the kids. But the big thing that I just want to point out with this is that this is not remediation, and we don't want our kids to feel like they've missed something here, because they haven't. That's our job to figure out and to get them caught up to grade level standards. So you may be hearing about the accelerated roadmap. I know it's been in the media a little bit and teachers talking about it, but that is something that we're going to use in our planning for when the kids return.
Dismissal procedures. Pre-K students will be dismissed through the early childhood doors. Those are the doors I mentioned earlier that they'll be coming into the building from. Kindergarten and 1st through 4th grade walkers will be dismissed with an adult walking them over to the area in front of the Robinson School. They will be walking in a line, carefully monitored, and then the teacher will find a spot just for her class or his class. We do ask, for the safety of our children, that parents don't sort of call their child over until the parent has sort of spoken to the teacher, to make sure that there's an understanding there that the child has a parent there. We also ask that parents don't just pull up their car and sort of call for a child, because children will walk out or run out, and we don't want any child to sort of be dismissed unnoticed. So we do ask that you find a parking spot. I know it's tricky at that time of day, and walk over. At least in the beginning of the school year, the teacher will have a clipboard to make sure that each child is going where he or she should be going. So we just ask for your patience. Dismissal does take a little bit of time at the beginning of the year, but this is one of the things that we insist on getting right. So we appreciate that. Bus students will meet in the gym. They will line up based on the gym, the bus that they will be getting on. Of course, there are adults in there monitoring them, and then they would be walked out in a line to their bus. So COVID protocols, and I sort of referenced this at the beginning of our presentation. All students and staff members entering our building will be wearing masks at all time. Students will be wearing them on the bus, and much like last year, we'll be keeping the bus windows open as much as we can. Even on cold days, we have them at least cracked open a bit for fresh air and to allow air to move around. We will try to maintain social distancing as much as possible in the classroom, but there may be times where your children are closer than 3 feet from each other. Not for prolonged periods of time, but we are, trying to make a typical learning environment for your children as much as possible. Students will be eating in the cafeteria for lunch each day. They will only have their masks off while they're eating the food or drinking. When we are bringing the barrels around for children to get up and put their trash away, they will have their masks on at that point. We have been really good about reminding them, once you're done eating or drinking, the masks go back on. Hands will be sanitized throughout the school day. Students entering or leaving the class or the building are required to use hand sanitizer and wash their hands. And I have to say, our staff have been amazing with, reminding children to wash their hands. And we have endless supply of hand sanitizer. And classrooms will be disinfected and sanitized each day, much like they were before. So we feel like we're keeping a nice, safe environment for our children.
So last year, many of our students participated in what we called pool testing. This year, we're actually able to make the school even safer by enhancing the COVID-19 testing options that we have. So we will still have pool testing, and we're calling those routine COVID safety checks. And so those will happen once a week, and any student who is participating in the program will come down and they will do a nasal swab. It's not the one that people call the brain tickler or whatever. It's not the one that goes all the way up. It's a very shallow nasal swab. By the end of the year last year, even our pre-K students were doing it on their own. And they actually enjoyed being able to take part in it. So those happen once a week, and we get the results of whether or not somebody in that pool was positive. And then if they are, we go through further protocol and testing for those. So that will remain the same this year. Some of the things that we're able to add is one, symptomatic testing. That was something we were not allowed to do last year. And this helps us out because it should create less phone calls for you. If your child comes to school and they start showing symptoms that could be related to COVID-19, we would call you, let you know that that's what's happening, and then ask you for permission to give your child a rapid test. So we would have the results of that in 15 minutes. If the child were negative, then great. If they're still showing symptoms, though, you would probably have to come pick them up. But whereas last year you would have had to take them to get a COVID test somewhere, which I know was costing some families some money, and just the hassle of having to schedule an appointment and go and get one, you would already have the results from the school on that test. And then as soon as they were asymptomatic and not showing symptoms, they could return back to school. Then we also we have what's called test and stay. And so that would be if say your child were a close contact to somebody at school or even at home, if they were a close contact to somebody, we would be able to do a Binax rapid test on them daily for 5 days. And if they showed negative each day, they would be allowed to stay at school. Last year, if a child were a close contact to somebody, they would have to stay home and they would have to wait 5 days and then go and get a COVID test. And if the tests were negative, they could come back to school. So this will decrease the amount of learning time that our kids miss out on due to being a close contact to somebody with COVID. And it also helps us keep the school safer because now we can know right on the spot if there is a COVID positive case at our school and then take the proper procedures that we need to take to keep everybody else safe. So I did include it in the McAuliffe shuttle that went out on Sunday. There is a form that parents have to fill out saying that they give permission for their child to participate in these COVID testing offerings. And so that is in the McAuliffe shuttle. We'll also be sending a hard copy home the first day of school in your child's folders. If you fill out the online version, you don't have to fill out the paper version. So just to save you some time if you are planning on them participating in these options.
All right, so student attendance is taken early in the morning and entered through our computer system by Linda. I'm sure you know Linda in the front office. If your child is going to be sick, we ask that you call the school and then also send in a note to your teacher. That way we sort of can keep track of who's out and for what reason. You will get an automated phone call anyway from the school. And then if we don't hear from parents calling to say their child is out sick or, you know, took a day off or whatnot, then we would be calling. We call individual families every day to inquire about absences. We are, you know, I wouldn't say hard on attendance, but we carefully monitor it. As I said, it's a daily activity for us. We want children loving school, as Mr. Anderson said, and running into our building. And if they're home, then they're not learning. So we want them in school. And so we ask that they stay the entire day unless an emergency comes up and you need to dismiss your child. We ask that medical appointments or dental appointments are made for after school whenever possible. But we do know that things come up where you need to take your child to the doctor or a dentist appointment. We ask that you get a note from the provider because we go into our computer system and we sort of excuse the absence. We say that we understand why that absence has happened. Any child that has been absent for more than a couple of days, I would say 3, 4, 5 days, we may ask you to meet with us just to talk about what we can do to support your child being in school. We know, as Mr. Anderson referenced, that some of our children might be nervous to come back or even come to school after they have not been yet so far. And we understand that kids will feel nervous and don't know what to expect. We are here to support them. We're here to support you. So if there's something happening, please let us know. Mr. Anderson and I have met with hundreds, probably thousands of children and families that are feeling nervous about coming to school. And we have some tricks. So let us try them out. But we certainly understand when, and even parents get nervous too, right? And when that separation doesn't go well, when you drop your child off and perhaps they're crying and having a hard time separating, we welcome phone calls from parents 10 minutes later to say, how's my child doing? Because typically it's 5 or 10 minutes. For 99% of the children are fine and started to be engaged in the day. But for us parents, it can be really hard thinking about our child being at school and nervous. We do ask that you don't dismiss after 3 o'clock. I know that traffic is tricky and, you know, some of our children have siblings at the Robinson School. So with those children getting out sooner, it's sort of enticing to take both your children at the same time. but there's a lot of learning that's going on, even at the very end of the day, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And for our little kids, they're learning about how to transition, how to pack up their materials, how to get organized. And a lot is happening even after 3 o'clock. So we do ask that you don't dismiss after 3 o'clock. If you can just wait the 25 minutes for the regular dismissal, we'd really appreciate it.
And so, well, first of all, sorry about the crazy screen sharing. I was trying to let somebody into the meeting and somehow stopped sharing and then couldn't bring the screen back. So some of the exciting things that I wanted to mention that are happening, and a big shout out to anybody who is on our school site council and the instructional leadership team at the school for working with me to bring these things to the McAuliffe. We now have the McAuliffe Tutoring Center. We've converted our library into a tutoring center for students. Like I said before, instead of only having 5 tutors that we've had for all the years that I've been there, we now have 9 tutors that we're going to be able to offer support to our students. And then we also were able to hire a reading intervention teacher at the school. And so her main focus will be working with our youngest readers who might be struggling to help them learn the skills that they need to become grade level readers. We are also implementing 2 new ELA curriculums. We have a phonemic awareness curriculum and a phonics program that our teachers are going to be learning about and implementing with students to really build those foundational reading skills. I can't wait for our kindergartners and first graders to see Letterland. It is a really, really cool, dynamic program that hopefully will make them excited about learning the letters and the letter sounds. And so we have both of those being implemented. We're going to continue with ST Math. Gigi the Penguin has become a staple at the McAuliffe School. I hear kids talking still about him this summer, and we've seen kids still working on ST Math puzzles this summer, which has been great. So we're going to continue that and the professional development that goes with it. We have now a dedicated science and social studies block at each grade level. In the past, it's been something that we've kind of fit into the schedule where it fits. But now having this dedicated block will make sure that we're doing science and social studies on a daily basis so that kids really get exposure to real life situations where they're utilizing the vocabulary that they're learning in ELA and math, and that they're going through those critical thinking skills that come with science and social studies. So very excited about that. We just hired a bilingual parent liaison to help out in the front office. So for our Spanish speaking families, we now have somebody in the front office who can help right away. I know sometimes it can be frustrating to call and it take a while for us to find somebody or have to call you back. So we will have Miss Rodriguez in the front office helping out with Miss Forrestal, or Miss Thompson, as most people know her, with that. We were also able to upgrade the technology in the classrooms. You can kind of see over here, the picture on the screen is a clear touch interactive board. Every instructional space, every classroom, we just moved them into every classroom today. Every instructional space will have one by October. And so this is just another way with our students having the one-to-one devices. Now our teachers will be able to interact straight through that. The connectivity with this board, kids can pop their work up onto it, be able to talk about their work. It's going to be a really cool addition to our classrooms that will hopefully enhance student learning and their excitement about that learning. Then just want to throw these out there to get these dates on your calendar as much as possible. Tomorrow night at 5:30, Miss Correnti, myself, and usually we get a good handful of staff members out there, and that says 5 p.m. It's 5:30 p.m. Tomorrow evening up at the playground at the McAuliffe. We have popsicles in the park. We'll have music playing, and we'll have popsicles and just a time to socialize with other parents. You might meet your child's teacher. You might meet other kids in their classroom as well. So hopefully a bunch of you will be able to make that. We do have our first day of school, August 31st, for our first through fourth graders, September 7th for our pre-K and kindergartners. We start school at 9:10 each day. So can't wait to welcome them back. Our kindergartners and also our pre-K are both going to be doing their meet and greets on Thursday, September 2nd. And kindergarten is from 11 to 12 and pre-K is from 1 to 2. That should be included in the letters that you'll be getting any day now from our kindergarten and pre-K teachers. Those letters are on their way out so that you'll know who their teacher is, and it'll have information about that meet and greet. It'll be a chance for you to come to the classroom, meet the teacher, and see what's happening there. And then don't forget our summer reading challenge. This morning we were approaching 1,800 books. So our kids are really rocking this challenge. They really want to see Miss Correnti and I kiss a goat at the opening assembly. So let's hit those 2,500 books. If you haven't been logging the books that your students are reading online, you can keep track of them on paper and just have them bring that paper in the first day of school, or the link is on our social media and it's in the McAuliffe shuttle. Speaking of the McAuliffe shuttle, hopefully that picture down at the bottom left looks familiar, and all of you have seen that. That went out on Sunday night and it'll go out every Sunday evening. It's just a way for you to keep up with what's happening at the school. I try to keep it as current as possible with all of the different happenings that we have going on. One of the cool features of this, it's called S'more, is that it does translate. So right here, you can click on it and it translates into any language that Google will translate. So for our families who might not speak English as their first language, that would be helpful there. Along with the shuttle, you should get a phone call from me as well. And then we are on social media. We just got a new Instagram. I'm learning Instagram. I was told that was the one to be on, that Facebook was for old people, and I don't like to be considered an old person. So I started an Instagram. So we've got a few posts going up on there. Follow us there, Twitter, Facebook, whichever one you use. I won't judge your age, but we're on all three. And I try to put out all of the different things that we have going on at the school, as well as just pictures of our kids in action, our teachers in action, and celebrating everything that's happening on Team McAuliffe. So join us on any of those as well. So I think that's our presentation for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and typically we would answer questions through the chat, but this is such a small group. If you want to, you can throw your question in the chat still too, if you would like. I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat. But if you have questions that you would like to ask, you can unmute yourself to ask them as well, since we don't have hundreds of people here who would be trying to unmute. But whatever way you are more comfortable, Ms. Correnti and I are here to try and answer any questions that we can.
Are the kids still going to use the laptops?
Yes, the kids will still use their laptops. So if your student has a laptop and that they brought home with them, send it back to school with them. We will be integrating those into their learning. Now, they won't be on the laptops like they were. It's not going to be all day long like they were with remote learning and stuff like that, but it is a tool that teachers will continue to use in the classrooms at times.
Okay, Uriel did leave it over there over the he went to the summer program that you guys had, the Central one, and he did leave it there, so it should be in school.
Okay. I wasn't aware students left them there. I will look into that.
Will new students be issued computers, or how will that work?
Yes, they will be issued computers. For any new students who are coming into the district right at the beginning of the year, those computers should be automatically issued and they'll be sent to the school, and then we'll be giving you a call to figure out how you want to sign the paperwork. We can either send it home and have you sign it, or you can come into the school to sign it. But yes, all new students will also get new computers. And I have a question in the chat here. are we able to stay with our kindergartners on the first day for drop off rather than the car line? Yes, for kindergarten and pre-K, good question. For kindergarten and pre-K on September 7th, we always do what we call the boohoo breakfast for parents. And so parents can get out of the car, they can bring their kid into the classroom, and then at about 9:40, we'll call you to the cafeteria. We'll have some pastries and things like that for you. And then we will we'll read a story with you. And the story is the same story that your students will read in school that day. And so it'll give you something to talk about with them when they get home. And the story is called The Kissing Hand. It's about a raccoon who's going to his first day of school. And so we'll read that with you, and you'll get a chance to hear about that. You'll be crying, and that's all right. But that's why we call it the Boohoo Breakfast. But it's just a kind of fun way to kick off the school year, for a way for you to have that shared experience with your child. So yes, we will have that. Other questions? Will there be support for students who don't know how to use the laptops? Yes, definitely. Our teachers, one of the other good things that have happened out of this is all of our teachers have become very good at technology. And so they will be working with the students to show them how to use the different tools that we use, how to use the different programs that we use. Definitely that instruction will be there. Our kindergarten, first and second graders, a lot of them will use Seesaw. They'll continue using that app for those of you who were here last year. And it's a really cool way for students to be able to turn in assignments. They can create videos of themselves. They can do drawings. They can take pictures of their work. They can write right in it. And so that'll be one of the tools that they use. And then our third and fourth graders use Google Classroom quite a bit. And so that we will definitely take care of making sure they know how to do that. What is the teacher to student ratio, and how many teachers or paras will there be for support? So our pre-K and kindergarten all have assigned paras to them. And so in pre-K and kindergarten, there's a teacher and at least one paraprofessional in each classroom. We're also working on trying to make that happen for first grade this year, of making sure that there is also a teacher and a paraprofessional in those classrooms. Then throughout the day, we have other paraprofessionals and our tutors who come into the classrooms to provide support. And so throughout the day, there could be another person in the classroom as well. And so depending on the time of day that you come into the school, in pre-K and kindergarten, you'll always see two people. We're hoping that that's the same for first grade this year. And then in second through fourth grade, you'll see that tutor and para support going into the classroom at key times, but then also not being there.
It's exciting because this is more support than we've had in the past. So we are very, very excited about the support that your children will have in the classroom.
One more question.
Yes.
So I work at the Robinson, and so I'll have my son with me. So when it's time, I'll walk him over. I know that you guys are expecting cars. However, where should I drop him off? Is it okay for me to walk over with him, or?
Yes, and so you'll notice that on our front patio, parents who walk to school will be out there hanging out with their kids before 9:10. And then once the bell rings, we open the doors, and then we all come outside and the kids go inside. And so definitely we have lots of people who walk their student to school, and right on that front patio is where you would meet. And then he's going to be in kindergarten, so he would go right into the side doors of the school to see his teacher.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Will lockers be used, or will students keep their things at their desks? We are going to be using lockers again this year. We won't be encouraging students to keep their laptops in their lockers, but to keep things like their jackets and their backpacks, the stuff that they bring to school daily and take home daily, those would be kept in their lockers. Any other questions out there? Ms. Carenti and I are accessible. We want you to ask questions. Please don't feel like you are bothering us by asking questions. We would rather you have the information and feel comfortable with the information than to be wondering. And so if there's ever a time throughout the year before we get into the school year that you feel like that there's something that you would like to know, please do not hesitate to ask. Our email addresses are, I was going to have you, if you wanted to take a picture of the slide with our email addresses, and that way you have that information. You definitely, that's probably the best way to reach us is through email. Mine is on my phone, so I'm answering it as often as I can. If you have not heard from me and it's been more than 24 hours, please send the email again. Just forward it to me and say, hey, David, I just wanted to make sure that you got this. You're not bothering me by doing that. I try to get back to people within 24 hours of the time that they get to me. And so if I haven't, please let me know that I haven't. I also keep the Facebook Messenger on my app. So if you message the McAuliffe Facebook page, that's another way that you can reach me with questions. And I try to be quick at getting back on that one as well. Anything that we can do to ease concerns, to answer questions and make sure that you have the information you need. Ms. Carenti's the same way. How do I order a school t-shirt? Mr. Shanahan, our gym teacher, is going to be putting together a student and parent order form for school gear. I think he said he's going to shoot for October for that. And so we'll have those being sent home with the students. We'll have it in the McAuliffe shuttle and get those out to everybody so that you can order that school gear too.
Are they going to be the same one you had on today? I love that one.
I will ask him to include that one on it. It's made, we get all of our t-shirts from Drake It Threads right down the road from us, and that one was made there. So I don't see them having an issue throwing that one on there. Okay. Like I said, any questions, don't hesitate to ask. We can't wait to welcome your kids back to school. We are so excited to be able to get this year kicked off and to have our kids back. And it's going to be a fun year. So thank you guys for coming out this evening. Thank you guys for trusting us with your kids' education. It's the most important thing that we can give to our kids. And so just know that we do, while we like to have fun, we do take their education very seriously, and that we want nothing but the best for them and for them to achieve everything that they dream of in their lives. So have a great evening. Enjoy it. Hopefully we'll see many of you tomorrow at Popsicles in the Park at 5:30. And if not, we will see you guys on that first day of school coming up on August 31st. So
bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.